Hi and welcome to Prime 50 TV. I'm here with Dr. Max.
Good to see you, Chris.
How are you doing?
All right, thanks.
Today we're going to be talking about strong bones. But first of all, can you just tell me a bit about yourself and about Prime 50?
Sure. A long time ago, did my PhD in biochemistry. Then I moved on to research and development in some big international companies. Eventually worked my way up to head of global R&D for a big multinational. So I've brought millions of products to market internationally. But then I went into sports nutrition for a short while, and it was while I was in sports nutrition I started to get a bit worried about, but it's all right for the young guys, what about the over 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s? There's nothing really for them. And I very quickly realised, and I did a lot of reading of the scientific literature, it's very important to stay active as you get older, and also to make sure that we get the right nutrition. So I decided to do a lot of research, and this is why Prime 50 was born, as I'll tell you a little bit more about later.
Okay, so what is it that we need to stay healthy?
Okay, I mean, there's three basic things.
Yeah.
Sleep is an obvious one. We don't talk enough about sleep, and we're not talking about sleep today, that's for the experts. We obviously need to exercise. We all know we need to exercise. But as we get a little bit older, I think a lot of us tend to get a little bit lazy perhaps, and again I can tell you a little bit more about that later. That's not a healthy thing. But of course the other big part of the triangle is nutrition. We have to get the right nutrition into our engine. You know, we're born with one body and we have to do everything we can to look after it.
Okay, well, speaking of nutrition, today we're going to focus on strong bones. So tell me a bit about that product. How did that product come to life?
Okay, we actually did a lot of research with 1,000 over 50s, 60s, 70s and 80s. And one of the big questions we asked them was, what is it that you're most scared of losing as you get older? And the number one priority was, I'm actually scared of losing mobility, independence. I just want to carry on playing with the grandkids, going on holidays, walking about. You don't think about that when you're 20, 25, but when you're 60, 70, you do start thinking about it. So I thought, well, what is that? What is mobility? It's all about looking after our musculoskeletal health. So as you can see on the slide, there's strong bones, there's healthy joints, and also there is maintaining muscle. All of those three things tend to give us problems as we get a little bit older. And today we're talking about strong bones. So that's one half of the story. The other half, and this is the shocking bit, is though we are told by a lot of health professionals we can get everything in our food, which is correct, obviously, the trouble is we don't, on average. Being a sort of technical guy, I only believe data. So I've gone right back to basics. I've looked at the National Diet and Nutrition food intake studies around the world, but I've concentrated on the UK. And when I look at the data, suddenly we find out that the vast majority of over 50s and beyond are hopelessly deficient in many micronutrients, vitamins and minerals. And if we're deficient, that means that we are going to lose muscle, we're going to lose bone mass, we're going to have perhaps sore joints, and certainly we will have a higher chance of ending up with a chronic disease later in life. So getting the right nutrition is really important.
So where did you start with the product? What ingredients did you realise that you needed to put into the supplements in order to challenge bone density?
Okay, obviously there are thousands of ingredients out there, most of which are natural, and they're the ones that Prime 50 concentrated on, the natural ingredients. When you talk about bone health, you immediately think of calcium. I think most people have heard of vitamin D, and there are other micronutrients and vitamins. But if you look at the food intake studies, like I said before, that's where the dietitians go into people's homes, they get them to fill in food diaries, they measure what they're eating so they can accurately determine what they're missing. We found that 40% were missing the RDA, the recommended daily allowance, the target for calcium. That's really serious. 95% do not get enough vitamin D in their food. Okay, you get some from sunlight. The trouble is with sunlight is you don't want to be in sunlight too long. Secondly, we're fully clothed most of the year, so we don't get enough ultraviolet on the skin. And thirdly, the rate at which we make vitamin D on older skin is much slower than when we were 25 years old.
You mentioned that we don't get the right nutrients in our food as well. I remember as a kid, people used to say drink milk and you get strong bones and calcium. Is there kind of an educational element missing in the middle years then? mean that we're not eating the right food?
That's a good point. What you said is true. You know, drink milk and you do get a lot of calcium, you do get a lot of vitamin D, and there are many other foods. I think the average consumer finds nutrition highly complex, because if you read, you know, the Daily Rag or you look at Google too much, you get inundated with so much nonsense combined with some good stuff as well.
Yeah.
And I think the average consumer, certainly when we did our consumer groups, is very cynical, but also totally mixed up. So I think supplementation is something that a lot of over 50s find a little bit, well, I don't really trust it. I don't trust the companies that they're feeding nonsense. And one of the things I try and pride myself with is being scientifically correct, evidence-based as we would call it. And you'll find that with all the Prime 50 products.
Now, we've got an image of what bones look like, normal bones, and what they look like with osteoporosis.
Yes.
There's a difference, huge difference, isn't there?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, if you look at the slide on the screen right now, you'll find out that on the left-hand side, you know, that's a normal bone under a microscope. You can see the framework, which is mostly calcium and phosphate. It's called hydroxyapatite. And then you've got collagen protein, which holds it all together a bit like cement to give it that strength. On the right-hand side, you've got a bone which is suffering from osteoporosis. This is a bone where the calcium has been lost. There's not enough calcium or vitamin D and others in the diet. And also, you can see that there is just about to go a nasty fragility fracture. It's very, very weak. That could be in somebody's hand. They would just bang the hand against the desk and that would break. It's much more serious, of course, if that break or that fragility fracture takes place in the hip, because the outcome from a broken hip is not very good. You know, only a small proportion of older people really regain their former level of independence, and unfortunately nearly 30%, you know, die within 12 months. So breaking a hip when you're older is really, really serious, and we do not want to go there. So we need to do everything we can to maintain our bone strength, our bone density.
Okay, let's clear up a couple of myths first. If with your supplements, will they suddenly start making their bone look like the normal bone? Will they go back and reverse anything?
That's a good point. The obvious answer is no. You cannot reverse osteoporosis. You cannot suddenly build massive amounts of additional bone, even with supplementation. Some people may say the opposite. It's not. You can't go there. If you look at this other slide, it shows very clearly what happens to bone density or bone strength with age. Along the bottom axis, you can see the age of the person. Along the vertical axis, that's bone strength, so the higher it is, the stronger the bone. And if you just concentrate on the red, which is the female line, you can see that the maximum amount of bone is formed at around 30. And basically, as you get a bit older, you start to lose a little bit of bone density, bone mass. And then postmenopausal females do tend to drop off a cliff at around 50, 55, where they can lose 25% plus bone density. So they should be doing especially everything they can to fight against this.
That's why your product's set for the Prime 50s, isn't it? To capture that age range. That's an important...
Yeah. I think when you're younger, you can abuse your body to a certain extent.
Yeah.
When you're older, you can't. You can't get away with it. And you do need to feed your machine, your chemistry set, with the perfect nutrition. And as I keep saying, unfortunately, we're not getting enough in our food. For example, I was presenting at the annual GP conference about 6 months ago at NEC. And I was presenting to all the doctors and the nurses, and they were absolutely shocked when I presented some of the National Diet Nutrition Survey data. They couldn't believe how deficient it was, because I think a lot of health professionals, they don't get it. They do think that we get everything in our food, and I'm sorry, the data doesn't agree with that.
Okay, let's get down to basics. So, what is in them?
Right, Prime 50, if I can just lift up a packet.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go through every single ingredient and bore everybody, but obviously at the top of the list there's calcium and there's vitamin D. Calcium is needed, as we just said, for bone strength, because it's part of the framework. Phosphorus is also part of the framework, but we have bags of phosphorus in our diet, so I've not included phosphorus. It's pointless. It's pointless. Vitamin D, everyone's heard of. I've already talked about the lack of vitamin D in our food. And also there's a lack of vitamin D synthesis or making, even from sunlight, as we get a little bit older. If you don't have enough D, you can have all the calcium in the world, but if you're lacking D, the calcium just simply won't be utilised. That's the problem. There are other bone minerals as well: magnesium, zinc, manganese, copper, etc., boron. These are all in the Prime 50 product as well. And we also have vitamin C. Now, vitamin C has got nothing to do with the bone strength necessarily, but when we talk bones, we need to think of the end of the bones as well, which is coated in cartilage, which is a collagen type material. Now, vitamin C contributes to the maintenance and laying down of new collagen. So we've got double the RDA of vitamin C in the product as well to cater for not only strong bones but also the end of the bones, the cartilage. We also have manganese and copper. Now, people don't tend to really know what they're for, but again, going back to the bone being more than just a piece of bone, bones are also connected to ligaments, tendons, etc. We need to look after those because that's part of the musculoskeletal system, the framework. So we have manganese and copper in there, which contributes to the maintenance of connective tissues, which means tendons and ligaments. So we've got the correct dose of that. In addition to that, we have a super material called bioperin. That's a trademarked material, which is a very special natural extract of black pepper. And the reason that's in there is the aging gut does not absorb micronutrients particularly well, again, as we get a little bit older. So how can we actually enhance absorption? Because we don't want the vitamins just to be passing through the body.
Yep.
So we've added this. The science is extremely good, which shows beyond a shadow of a doubt that if you utilize this bioperin in the product, which we do, you can get a much greater absorption of the vitamins and the minerals. In addition, we have a healthy aging blend, and we've recently patented this healthy aging blend. So I know that every time anyone uses any Prime 50 product, and there are other Prime 50 products, not just the strong bones, I want them to benefit from looking after their general health as well. So we have other things like vitamin E and grapeseed extract in there. Well, what are they for? They're called antioxidants, which is the chemical term, I suppose, for something which helps with oxidative attack. The trouble is, as we age, our cells are under constant attack from oxidation all the time. Oxidation is a horrible aging phenomenon. We can't really stop it. But one of the things we have to have is enough antioxidant vitamins and minerals. So part of the healthy aging blend also contains these antioxidant type materials like vitamin E, grapeseed extract, vitamin C, etc., etc. So basically, it's an absolutely superb formulation. We've thought of everything we can. We're also trying to protect people against falls as they get older.
Yeah, there's a myth that this can actually stop people with falls. Is that true?
It's semi-true.
Semi-true.
Stop is a powerful word.
Yeah.
But I would say, well, I wouldn't say. The scientists, the EU scientists say, and again, it's been proven by the top scientists in Europe, that if you get the right level of vitamin D into your product, which we have again, which is about 4 times the RDA, the recommended allowance, you can actually make the health claim helps prevent falls in the over 60s. So you won't find that on any other. Helps prevent falls. That's absolutely correct.
We obviously there's a lot of stuff in there, and I see how beneficial it is. It's not just for your bones. You thought of everything connected as well, and it's really bringing everything together.
Yes, we've tried our best to do that, and I think it's a top product.
Yes,
it really is
an amazing product.
Yeah.
We have got a few questions, which I think we need to pick up on. You talk about not getting enough sunlight. Can we fix everything by going on holiday?
Going on holiday and sitting in the sun, providing you're careful, can certainly help. Vitamin D is one of the few fat-soluble vitamins. So if you do build up vitamin D stores over a good summer, like we've had, or you go on holiday for a couple of weeks and you sit in the sun, not too long, of course, then you certainly can help build up vitamin D stores. And they tend to last a few weeks, maybe some months. The trouble is, a lot of people cover themselves in sunscreen, as they should, as I do. And of course, immediately that will block a lot of the sunlight, a lot of the UV, the ultraviolet. So your vitamin D synthesis, or the making of vitamin D in the skin, is not going to be very efficient. So it helps, but it doesn't necessarily solve. In fact, if you take the NHS, even the NHS now, and the health professionals, are starting to wake up to supplementation at last. I'm really pleased to hear that. The NHS now recommend at least 10 micrograms of vitamin D a day for everybody, let alone older adults. which is already double the RDA. So the RDAs are really hopelessly out of date as well.
So if you're in the prime of your life, head into Benidorm, you still need a pack of these?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Are they vegetarian and gluten-free?
Yes, this is gluten-free, vegetarian, vegan, no preservatives. The colour is natural. In fact, the colour on the yellow tablets is actually riboflavin, which is actually one of the vitamins.
Okay. Also, a lot of people are saying, what kind of experience with supplements? When people talk about supplements, they talk about meal replacements. Are these a meal replacement?
No, and that's a good question, because I have had emails saying, can I take this instead of a meal? And I said, no. We should do all we can to get all the best nutrition from natural food. You know, food like this, for example, apples, broccoli, spinach. I would also say meat and milk. I know not everyone has meat and milk, but I think they're fantastic nutrition sources. So, no, they are certainly not a meal replacement. They are exactly what it says on the box, which is it is a supplement. It's an adjunct to your diet.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of news going around, isn't there? And people get mixed up with supplements and meal replacements.
Yes,
so
that's right.
It's good to pick up on that. And you've got many different ranges. Can you use all of them together?
Yes, you can. I mean, we talked about musculoskeletal health, so that's muscle, it's joints, it's bones, and it's also fighting fatigue. They're the initial 4 products in the range to help the over 50s stay active, stay mobile, feel younger for longer in the prime of their lives.
Yeah.
And you know, it's really, really important to decide what supplements you want. Some people prefer just bones only. Some people will look at 3 or 4 supplements. I get emails asking me, can I use 2 of them together, 3 of them together? I've always responded, yes, you can. The reason I'm confident is, again, going back to the boring science, safety as well. I've looked at what's called the upper tolerable limit for vitamins and minerals allowed by the EU. So they've got their health and safety scientists looking at all of these in great detail. And even if you combine all 4 Prime 50 products, you're still below the upper limit for lifetime safety. So these are very safe supplements indeed. I would add some more information as well for the viewers. A lot of over 50s will be on medication of various types, and some people will be on polypharmacy, which is more than 5 medicines. Now, these supplements, again, are perfectly safe. I knew that the vast majority of my customers would be over 50 and therefore on meds, so I formulated using only well-proven, safe ingredients. What I've not done is I've not gone into the field of herbal medicines or herbal products. I've got nothing against herbal products, but for safety, I've been absolutely, careful and clear that I'm only going to use those that have got a very, very safe, non-interaction, no contraindication track record. There are some herbals, for example, which can interact with certain medicines, things like St. John's wort, and there's a whole stack of others. Obviously, I've not gone into that area, so I've stayed with very safe ingredients.
So these supplements are backed up by research and science?
Absolutely. Every single ingredient has got clinical trials on it, and I've added not any old level, I've meticulously formulated the product at the right level. So you'll find some micronutrients there at maybe half the RDA, you'll find some at 5 or 6 times the RDA, and we haven't got time now, but there is a very good reason for why I've chosen every single level. Just
quickly, if people don't understand what RDA is, what is it?
Yeah, the RDA is called the Recommended Daily Allowance. On packets, we're not allowed to put RDA on the packs now, it's NRV, so some people write to me and say, what's NRV? Well, it's the same as the RDA, but unfortunately it's an EU piece of legislation that's forced us to change from RDA to NRV. It just complicates things, I'm afraid.
So everything is within government guidelines as well?
Yes, absolutely. A lot of people think that supplements are not regulated. They are very tightly regulated. What you put on the pack has to, go through a regulatory process. The health claims that you put on pack, you can only use certain words and certain claims. So, it's the tightest regulation in the whole world, even tighter than the US.
And just finally, one last question. I know we've been getting this a lot. Can people under 50 take these supplements too?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've got Fire Brigade taking them, I've got ballet dancers taking them, I've got Zumba class taking them. So yes, there will be no harm if somebody under 50 takes them, under 40, under 30. I get a lot of younger people who do take them because they see the quality of the products and what's inside, and they've read about the products. They're obviously designed for over 50s. The Healthy Aging Blend is designed for over 50s because I know that people will be lacking certain micronutrients and we need to help absorption.
Yep.
But the younger people can certainly take them with no problems.
Brilliant, excellent. And if people want to get hold of you, they can get you on your Facebook page, which
Facebook page, absolutely.
is Prime 50 UK.
Yes.
Get hold of you on many other channels such as Twitter, Instagram. You're on Instagram now?
Instagram, Pinterest as well. So yes, and of course we have the website prime50.co.uk as well.
So if there is anything else that you want to know, do head over to the website or catch Max on one of the social media channels. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. We are going to be coming back next week and talking more about the Strong Bones supplement. Until next week, take care everyone, and thank you very much.
Thank you.